Thank you for that. Yes, as you have said, we continue to post the link, and we believe that as we go on in the webinar, we'll have more feedback from participants. I'm sure people are following us and paying rapt attention. So now we can go to the next item on the agenda, which will be the citation of our guest lecturer. As said by Mrs. Somo, we have one of the best in-house today, in person of Dr. Ayodidioke. We're so lucky to have him here in our webinar today. So I will invite Mrs. Omar once again to read the citation of our guest lecturer, Dr. Ayodidioke. Thank you. Over to you, Mrs. Omar.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone, once again. Like we said, we have a lecturer, very well-read today, and is going to be leading us in our lecture today. So we're going to read the citation of, sorry, I'll share my screen so that you'll be able to follow, and then we'll see who was celebrating very well. Now we're going to be reading the citation of Dr. Ayodidioke, QS, MNIQS, MAQS, RQS. You see all the QS and QS. You're very welcome, sir. Dr. Ayodidioke Emmanuel is an experienced lecturer with over 15 years of teaching and research experience in higher institutions of learning across the world. He has obtained his first degree with a first-class honors in quantity surveying and completed his master and PhD degree in the same discipline. He founded the research group on Sustainable Infrastructure Management Plus, RGSIM Plus, and he is currently the leader of the team. He is a corporate member of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, member of the Association of South African Quantity Surveyors, associate member of Industrial Engineering and Operations Management Society International, USA. He's a registered member of Quantity Surveyors. He's registered with Registration Board of Nigeria, RQS, member of Nigerian Institute of Management, and member of Board of Trustees, Sustainable Green Environment Initiative. Please clap for our, for our lecturer. Thank you. He has over 300 publications in the area of sustainable infrastructure management, with focus on sustainable construction, quantity surveying, value management, and construction digitalization. These include research books such as Sustainable Value Management for Construction Projects, published by Springer Nature, Switzerland. Construction Digitalization, a Capability Maturing Model for Construction Organizations, published by Routledge Taylor and Francis, London. Sustainable Construction in the Era of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, published by Routledge Taylor and Francis, London, amongst others. Globally, from Google Scholar Rating, he's currently in the top 4 and top 7 of researchers in quantity surveying and value management, respectively. Please, I thought I'll be hearing the round of applause. Unmute your mic, please. Thank you. According to ResearchGate, thank you, Mas. According to ResearchGate, a global online gathering of researchers, he is the top 100% of researchers globally. He has led various research teams and currently rated Y2 by National Research Foundation of South Africa. He's a reviewer of various local and international reputable journals. He has supervised several students at undergraduate and postgraduate level and won several awards as well as training and fellowship grants. He was recognized as the best lecturer in Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria for the year 2021. Another round of applause, please. Okay, he is currently a senior lecturer in the Department of Quantity Surveying, Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria. He's also a senior research associate at CIDB, Center of Excellence, University of Johannesburg, South Africa. He's an editor of the Quantity Surveyor Journal of Nigeria Institute of Quantity Surveyors. So present to you Dr. Ayodeji Oke as our guest speaker. Welcome, sir. Thank you. So, sir, are you around, sir? Over to you, MC.
Thank you, Mrs. Omo.
Yes, can I start? Okay.
Yes.
We have been given a round of applause, and I think it can never be enough for our awesome. Yes, sir, you're welcome, sir.
Okay, it's like you are sharing screen from your end. Please, can I share it from my end?
Yes, sir. You can.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I have the screen. Okay. Yes, thank you very much, everybody, and to the moderator, as well as the conveners of this particular program and the webinar series. I want to say thank you for inviting me and finding me worthy to be here. I hope everybody can hear me. Can I?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much, Ma. So I'll just go on. Like I want to appreciate everyone involved in this webinar series for the invitation. I want to say thank you for finding me worthy to come and speak to great minds at this particular point in time. And of course, the topic before us this particular month or for this particular series has to do with writing a compelling introduction that's setting the stage for high impact articles. Well, I want to believe that for every one of us hooked up here, this is not really a strange thing to each and every one of us. So I want to believe that I'm not here to tell us anything new. We have some things. One or two things. I want to believe that we also learn one or two things as well. So this is going to be the outline for the presentation. We're going to have like a introduction. Then we'll look at why we need to publish. We also want to see the importance of introduction in publications. We want to see what we need to do before writing introduction. We want to see the basic ingredients or content of introduction, then the actual acts of writing the introduction itself, the do's and don'ts of introduction, and we will conclude. I've made to understand that for this particular series, there's going to be questions, and if possible, people want to start writing their introduction. So I want to believe there'll be enough time as well for people to post in their question or possibly their challenges. Maybe you have actually done something to a particular stage and you are stuck. I want to believe there will be time for that for people in this particular forum to actually help us out when it comes to that section. So let's start. Now, talking about introduction generally, I'm sure introduction means different things to different people. And unfortunately for me, while I was searching, I got this particular picture that talks about introduction to different people. To a market person, how do you introduce yourself? That's an introduction. A marketer, how do you introduce your goods as well? That's an introduction. Of course, if you are writing an agreement, you want to have an introduction to that particular agreement. If it's a contract, you want to have an introduction. In fact, I've just been introduced as well, as far as this program is concerned. That means introduction comes in different ways and at different levels, okay? So we can introduce ourselves when it comes to business, when it comes to work, in terms of communication. In fact, your introduction, can you do a 2 minute introduction of yourself? If you are going for an interview, people will ask you, can you please introduce yourself? So that means introduction comes in different levels and as well as in different perspectives. But as far as we are concerned today, our introduction has to do with articles writing, paper publications generally. And so that means for us, the question we're asking ourselves is, what am I actually writing about? And that is the major essence of our gathering at this particular time. Am I writing about? Everyone's online at this point in time as well. What are you writing about? Writing about an essay, or what do you intend to write about in case you have not started writing? But for those that actually have something planned, the question we need to ask ourselves at this point is, what am I actually writing about? If you cannot answer this question, we are here to start. So that, there is a need for us to come to terms with what exactly am I writing? Am I writing an article? Am I writing an essay? Am I writing a book? Am I writing a book chapter? I'm not writing a poem, We just need to be sure what we're actually writing about. And I think that's the starting point. And for us, we are looking at background of the study in a research paper, because we can interchange it. Some actually refer to this as introduction, especially when it comes to articles, but in some cases, we also hear things like background of research and like that. First call is discuss why do, because introduction comes in as part of publication, as part of our articles. And of course, I know that a part of the webinar series is actually talking about this aspect as well. So I'm not going to waste our time dwelling on this, just like take us one step after the other before we get into the main thing. So why do we need to publish? One of the reasons we publish is to make our research visible. Imagine you have a research and it's just sitting down on your table, nobody knows anything about it. That is not feasible. Then by the time we publish, we get more recognition. Okay, people get to know us, people tend to contact us, people want to collaborate with us. In fact, there are some grants now. By the time you want to apply for those grants, they will tell you to supply your profile pages, possibly your Scopus profile and the rest of them. They just want to know us more. Then for more, to discover us more. For instance, if I'm saying that this is my area of research and people go online and they are not saying anything about then for credibility, as far as my research is concerned, I become credible by the time I publish more in that particular area. Then people have ability to reduce my articles, my publications. When you talk to literature reviews about trying to reduce what others have done, and this actually has more impact when we go into experimental studies. If you have told people that, for instance, people in pharmaceutical industry, you have told them when you take paracetamol, then you take this one. That's sequential order. People want to continue to reduce that particular order you are giving unto them. That's also applicable to us in construction. So we publish so that people can actually make use of whatever we are putting out, and they can continue to use it. I know for some of us, there are some researches we'll be doing and we'll be citing works of 1960, works of 1950 something, So that means such materials, they are still usable and they continue to be usable. Then for more awareness, as well as for accessibilities, the other reason why we publish is for peer review opportunities. We want to hear from others. We want to see whether what we are doing is even in line. By the time you hear from others, this is one of the hidden reasons why people is just learn from others. For people that have been publishing, sometimes you see some review, so this thing exists, so I can actually take my research towards this route, so I can actually take my research towards this direction. And aside, it also helps us as individuals to be able to review works of others properly. Okay, so peer review opportunity comes in. Then it also positions us as industry expert leader. The more you publish in a particular area, the more you become an expert in that particular area. For instance, if you check most people that have a number of citations in a particular area, discover that it's because they have been publishing over time, so they have become like giants in that particular area. So when we publish, it actually positions us as area. Particular area, I can actually be called upon and me advantage that. So that means I publish area, I get as well. Then it builds corporate enthusiasm and support ongoing education. This is one of the major reasons we publish. It's not just because we want to ongoing education, collaboration between the and want to see how can what we are doing in terms of how can actually help doing when it comes to education and educational studies, need to evolve, new things coming up every day. So by being published, that can actually stop going education. And lastly, I know this is common to most of us in their case, publish or perish. I know it has been so or publish, different terms. But the truth is that without publication, you're actually going nowhere in the academics, because that is like the major criteria for actually moving forward in our own field. Okay. Now, so we are looking at why we publish, and want to look at the content of a typical article. We are looking at cutting edge, or what's it called, article. So if you check a typical article, I said a typical article, the basic element or the basic content, I'm going to see such an article. There will only be a topic, the author affiliation or author's information, the names, the emails, where they hail from. Then you see the abstract, you see the keywords, and also you see the introduction. Then you can see the methodology, findings, the question, the acknowledgement, the references. There could be some, and of course, I said the typical article because some articles that will not have all of this, but for a typical one, we expect to see all of this. So that means introduction comes almost immediately after. I call the abstract and dress. I just call them like general summary or summary before the main work. The topic, the affiliation, the abstract, the keyword, they are just some before the main work. So that means the content of the main work actually starts from introduction. And that is why there is a need to pay attention to introduction. Okay, so why introduction? And that's the first question we need to ask ourselves. We want to see the importance of introduction. Why do we need to introduce our work? Why should that be introductory section in an article? The fact remains that this particular section of our paper, it presents the background to the study, introduces our name, and gives over that is what we will be interested in, knowing exactly what it is all about. So introduction presents the background. It also introduces the topic, the general overview of the paper. We are not saying it actually concludes or giving it. When you say something is giving an overview, it's different from giving a summary or giving like a concluding of the paper. It's an introduction. Of course, it must give a general overview. What I'm expecting people to learn from that paper. What are the interesting things that are not possibly in other publications before particular. Then the good introduction is a solid foundation, and that is that lays it encourages users to continue onto the main part of your paper. Of course, when the introductory section is not like what's the point going about this work? It's actually the foundation, and a good introduction will encourage readers to actually want to read more. They want to now see, okay, if this is what you are setting out to do, okay, let me see what method did you apply? What are the materials that you reviewed? What are your findings? What are your conclusions? What are your recommendations? People will actually want to follow and go on. But when introduction is not well written, it can actually discourage readers from moving ahead. So we can think of introduction as a section that actually points out the gap in knowledge, because we want to talk about possibly what has been done, what has not been done. Why do you want to do it? By the time we do it, what is the importance? Who are people that are going to benefit from it in one way or the other? Gap in knowledge, because gap has to be in the research article. And the rest of the paper, the rest, that's talking about the methodology and the rest of them, or the section in which you define and claim your territory within the broad area of research. In this case, we are looking at, for instance, we are looking at construction. That's a very wide area. And writing a paper on construction. Of course, it doesn't even sound general. So we should be able to exact construction you are looking into. So it actually helps us to claim our territory in research. Introduction ideally should actually ask the question why. So at the same time we are writing an introduction, we should ask questions. Why? The first one is the topic for the Why am I actually going in this particular area? Why am I looking at building collapse in construction? Why not energy efficiency in construction? Why not sustainable construction in construction? Because there are so many aspects, there are so many areas of construction. So I'm just thinking about construction. I need to choose, I need to ask myself why. And I need to write my question with a question in mind. Why do you choose for research? What is the essence? Then why is it important? Is it still important? Do people actually will people actually have interest in reading that particular area? You know, I'm sorry for us QS. I always want to use this example of people wanting to write a paper, and what you want to do is about cost control. I say maybe methods of cost control. You know, publications. Cost control has overflooded, and the people we ask, what else do you want to like bring up on cost control? We are talking about feasibility study. That doesn't mean we cannot do anything new. But the question is at that point, why is it important? Even if I want to write on cost control, I should be able to justify of the others have done in this particular area. But this is the issue as far as cost control is concerned. Then why is it important? Then another question we may ask at that point in time is, why do you have to adopt a particular method or approach in the introduction? This is not talking about the methodology. Just going this way. Maybe I'll be using for review, you know, by the time you are stating the problem and the rest, that has to be stated. And for some that like the research, commission articles, right from introduction, you need to let people know this research actually meant to address particular problem, maybe in this particular company. So that means from that point, already stating the problem and everything all together. The other thing is that the introduction actually gives the first impression. So once people read an introduction and they are not okay with it, you can be sure that they will just throw it off. In fact, fortunately for me, I was actually reviewing a paper for sustainability this morning, and that will be the first time I will see some kind of paper. I expected the editor to have actually returned the paper to the author. You know, the introductory part, he was writing about sustainable construction, trying to combine the value management, which is my area anyway. And the introductory part was just about 1/4 of a page, literature review 1/4 of a page, so everything. The earlier part, even methodology, just a page. Introduction, literature review, methodology, in just a page. And you ask yourself, what have you introduced? You know, introduction was just like a paragraph. This paper tends to study the relationship between sustainable value management and so and so, and that is it. No, that is not a good introduction. So with that first impression he gave me, in fact, in my mind, I knew that it's either I give the paper rejection or major revision. Why? Because of the introduction. So that means it's actually give people the first impression. And the importance of introduction as well is to state the purpose of the paper. You know, no paper can address all the problems in the world. It's not possible. A paper is meant to actually address a particular issue. A paper is actually about a particular idea. Actually, when it comes to conference paper, in fact, those ones, they are meant to address a very simple idea. For articles, sometimes you can address a very serious problem. But you know, the purpose has to be stated. What is the essence of the paper? What is the paper actually meant for? Then, the essence of introduction also is to provide reasons to read more. When people read it, you want them to actually read more. And we want to like sort of their interest to read more. Then we preview main ideas. What are the main ideas as far as the work is concerned? In fact, on the introduction, the main ideas has to do with the main things in the topic. This is one of the mistakes people make when it comes to introduction. When you set out the topic, introduction should be able to tell us, and explain every keywords in that particular topic. For instance, you're saying sustainable construction management. In the introduction, people want to see what's the meaning of sustainability. What does it mean? By the time you are now coming, people want to know sustainable construction. What is the meaning? Then management in what aspect? In what area are you looking at management? Because those are the key things in the topic. So the essence of introduction also is actually to preview main ideas as far as the work is concerned. Then before writing the introduction, these are the things I will advise us to actually consider. The first thing is to design a type of publication. I know that for this webinar series, you're actually looking at articles, you are looking at publications in journals like that. But of course, when it comes to articles, articles can be in book chapters, it can be in journals, it can be in form of conferences as well. But of course, we are trying to like focus more on journal publication. But before you start writing, the first thing is to decide what kind of publication am I writing. Is it going to be a book chapter at the end? Is it going to be like a conference paper? Is it going to be a journal paper? But of course, the best thing is to start from writing a journal paper, because that's like the peak. That's like, the 3 categories now, journal paper. So that in case anything happens and it couldn't fit in, at least it's going to fit into a conference paper. And they are into a book chapter. And if it was going to a conference, then and before it could fit in, you can't fit it up, it has to go down. That's the end of such a paper. So it's always better to start, any paper with the mind of particular paper with that. But the details as far as the journal I've selected, or maybe a particular job. Maybe, for instance, I'm looking at a particular Q1 journals, maybe can and the rest of them are required details. What are the things required of them? And we can't get this unless we read wide on the subject here, as well as the journal. So that means I need to go to the journal, see what the journal is all about, see the area of publication, because almost all these journals, they have things they publish and they have things they don't publish. So that you not finish writing, you'll have edited everything to that particular journal guideline, only for you to get there and discover that what you have written is not in line with their publication ethics. Or before you know it, the editor will just send it to you. I've received that several times. Just tell you, sorry, your paper did not fall in line with our publication details. And of course, that means we need to start looking for other journals to send that particular paper to. So we need to understand the required details. Then you also need to read wide on the subject area. You cannot understand the gap. You cannot bring out the gap if you don't know what is existing. It's not possible. People just want to say, for as far as something has not been done. The question is, how do you do that? Also, until you read wide, you're able to give justification. Possibly this one did this particular area, this one looks at this perspective, from this particular perspective. That is the gap, and we cannot do that until we have actually read wide in the subject area. Then we need to have a good understanding of the subject, because we are still going to talk about the issue of plagiarism. A time will come when you have to write and then write on your own. Not everything is not about getting able to explain what is going on. Then I will also advise that we read through previous introductory section of this. The best way to learn is to stand on people that have actually learned, that have gone through that particular route. So if you can read previous introductory section of articles, because by the time you go through different articles and different journal formats, discover that different articles have their different ways of introduction. Even from the same author, you can introduce your work in different ways. By the time you have read through, we will have gotten so many means of introducing our articles. Then I want to say it from very beginning. We are looking at before writing introduction, before we even start. I will advise that it's better we adopt a reference style or something. And for us, I always advise people, if you are using software, use that. The time you have done easily, you can convert to another software or another style. If they have to convert to Harvard easily, instead of having to write, I see this that people see write references in papers, listing. So if you have actually done it in Harvard style, if the journal is not, you go and do it in Harvard style, you need to start going to our references again and start editing, start changing the position of the year, change the position of the bracket and all of those things. Those are things that stresses us. So right from the very before you even start writing at all, it's better you adopt a particular reference style. Even if you have access to software, you can use the reference guide in Microsoft Word, although that is a bit tedious, but at least it's better than just writing references. We need to be original, because is introducing your work, not other people's work. It's about personality, has to do with, has to do with my concern, me. So we need to be original when it comes to writing introduction. Now, these are the main content of the introduction, the main content. We have the general statement. Of course, let me say this before we continue. I'm sure you must have seen different articles with different styles of the introduction. This is just like a guide. It's not sacrosanct. It's not like it's a must, okay? Because sometimes we encounter some journals or some publishers that will tell you how to go about, if I went some in such a case, may not need to actually put everything, but we are just saying that for a typical article, there's a need for general statements where people actually need. People just want to start writing about their work. For instance, I'm working on a sustainable construction, and the first thing is sustainable construction is the process. No, that's not the way to start. We should first introduce the broad topic. Let's know what the work is all about. General statement is better. General is actually coming from you and not from previous publication. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in citing at this point in time, but it's always that if that statement, everybody understands earlier, we also talked about risk problem. What is the issue? What is they are trying to do as far as that paper is concerned? Because every paper must address a problem. In fact, for most comments that I go through online, what most authors or what most reviewers always ask is, what is the problem of this study? What's the problem you are trying to solve? That means as much as possible, we need to state the problem. Some state it in form of a question, some state it in form of problem as it is. This study tends to solve the problem of so and so. Anyway, but the most important thing is that the problem has to be stated. Then research questions as well. The problem, question, and the objectives, they are related somehow. We can ask questions. You can actually pose questions in form of a problem. Why is this thing happening to us? That's the question. But of course, we are trying to say that there is a problem somewhere that actually leads us to the objectives. You can also bring out hypotheses, although for some cases, personally too, I believe it should be methodology, but I've seen introductory section where they actually ask people to state the hypothesis of the work, the objectives of the work, and of course the justification for the study. This is very key, and I've seen people missing out this when it comes to introductory section of papers. Now, by the time you have stated the problem, the question, this is the issue. Then the question, why are you doing it? It may be an issue. For instance, I have a professor who always say that if you are looking at, you are correlating the number of dogs in UK with number of buildings in Nigeria, you will get results. Do correlation, get the number of dogs in UK, get number of buildings in Nigeria, do correlation, you will get results. But the question is, what is the essence of the results? What's going to be the benefits? Who will benefit from correlation of dogs in UK and the buildings in Nigeria? So that should be justification. Why am I doing it? What is the issue? What is the problem? What is the gap? And how will people benefit from this particular study by the time I am done? Then we talked about the scope of the study, as well as scope and limitation. Because a research paper cannot address everything altogether. So I need to let people know the direction I'm going. It can be in terms of methodology. It can be in terms of the area. It can be in terms of the respondents. It can be in terms of anything. So that will give room for area for further study. But there is a need for us to tell people, this is my scope, as well as this is my limitation of the study. Then finally, at least I've seen this in most of the publishing houses and the publishers, it's always better to conclude the introduction with the aim of the study. It's always better, it's always the best. So that when people have read different ideas, general statements, the problem, the question, the objective, the justification, at the end, there should be a statement that this study therefore tends to more or less like a concluding statement for the introduction. So this is very key and germane for content. So we have looked at the main content. Let's now look at some other content, because I've seen in some introductory statements when people will actually tell when authors or maybe editors tell people to include need for the study, the rationale for the study, the research motivation, the purpose of the study. But if you look at these four things I've listed, they are all related to what I listed earlier. That's talking about the justification, the research problem. So anyhow we see the need for the study, what am I doing, the rationale, the research motivation, what is motivating you to doing it, the purpose, they are all related. But in case they ask for it, of course, it has to be there as well. Then we have in some cases, some people will expect that we include ethical statements in the introduction, although I think that should be under methodology anyway. But of course, if it's meant to be there, for instance, this is always applicable those in plant, animal science, and the rest, that no animal was hurt in the process of collecting data for this work. But for us, we talked about respondents. When you are giving out questionnaires and the rest, did you coerce them? Did you force them? Did you give them money? Did you, all of those things actually brings about ethical issue. Even the way you ask questions, those are the things that has to do with ethical statement. Then structure of the paper is another thing we need to look into. What is the structure? In terms of, we said earlier that there's a need to target a particular journal. By the time I target, what is the structure? For some papers, they will tell you your introduction should just be 2 paragraphs, maximum of half a page. Whereas for some, they expect as many as 3-page introduction. So in such a case, if you don't know from the beginning, possibly you are written up to 3 pages and I'm not telling you to reduce to half a page, that becomes an issue. So we need to understand the structure of the paper. Then in some cases, also, introduction actually sometimes will state the structure. Some people saying that in this particular article, literature review was carried out to do this and this methodology was done in this area and stuff like that. Then in some introduction as well, they don't allow for literature review as a section on its own. They combine introduction and literature review together. So in such a case, that means after your introduction, you move straight to your methodology. So that means literature review becomes a part of the introductory section. So we need to actually understand that and note it. Okay. Then at this point, sorry, we are looking at still writing the introduction. We are trying to say that another thing we need to do is to use a start of facts to convey the importance of the introduction. You know, sometimes people are moved by facts. For instance, if I come to us and I'm telling us that do you know so number of children die every day from malaria, so number of children die every day because of typhoid, so number of, before you know it, you get captivated, you get motivated to actually do something about it. So sometimes if you have statement of facts or statistics that can actually convey the importance of the study, you can include that in the introductory section. Then you should prepare the reader for the information they will gain from the article, right from the introduction. You have to prepare their mind. You know, people will say the introduction, people will, should desire to read more. And by the time, more or less, like you're giving them, a tip, and they want to like, okay, so what's in the main thing? That is what introduction is meant to do. Then we should also hook the reader into reading the article or convince the reader they want to read the article. That's what introduction will do. We should be able to convince the reader that they want to read the article. Then another thing is to make a statement that summarizes what the article is all about, you know, that we have discussed. But this other area, when it comes to introduction, we can actually write from two perspectives. It can be inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning. When you are saying you are carrying out a deductive reason, that means actually trying to reason from general to particular. You know, when you say you are deducting. So if it's happening in the manufacturing industry, I'm deducting that, I'm deducing that it's also going to happen in the what's it called, construction industry. For instance, I do a lot of studies of digitalization and the rest. And there was a time we're doing something on smart wearables, and somebody was asking, smart wearable, what is it all about? I was like, okay, for instance, you wear watch, can control what happens in your home, CCTV camera and the rest. So how is that related to construction? You know, so I have to start thinking of how to bring it down into construction, because it's about people in the banking sector, you know, when you have apps on your phone and the rest. So that means I can actually try and relate it to what I'm doing. So I can reason from general to particular. Whereas for some people, they will prefer the reasoning from particular to general. Anyhow, the most important thing is that you don't just model up things. You should avoid stories as much as possible. What is the main thing? I'm looking at smart variables for construction. What is variables? Smart variables, explain sustainable construction, try and see where smart variables are being used, and I should see how I can actually bring that into construction. That is, I'm reasoning from general to particular area that I'm actually working on. Then we have discussed that we should check the introduction. Now, one of the things I counsel people to do from very beginning is to learn the act of writing on their own, right from very beginning, even before you start. As much as possible, one of the things that is making our work to be rejected is the issue of plagiarism. You know, being the editor of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Survey journal, in fact, there are times you just have to publish some journals for publishing sake, just to like balance things up. See people, by the time you run their work through plagiarism test, 92%. Ask yourself, at least they did findings. Then why is the work up 92%? And you can't blame some of these people. They don't even know anything called plagiarism. You know, when I started research, what we learned, or what we understood is that give honor to whom is due. Go online, copy it, put it in your work, put in bracket, move to the next one, copy, put in your work, put this thing in bracket, move to the, before you know it, your paper is complete. And because the journals we publish them, they don't do plagiarism, they don't even know what plagiarism test is. So you just publish and you have your publication. By the time you want to start getting journals, I'm talking about high impact journal, the rated journals, good one. The difference as submitting. Some I think is it I think is the one submitting. Once you finish the submission, it will tell you the plagiarism level of your paper. So you will know for yourself whether my paper is going to be accepted or not, because they have their limit. You know, they will say between 5 and 15%. Some will say between 10 and 25%. But for what I tell people is, as much as possible, make sure all your work, every section of your work, they are all original. Because a page can be plagiarized and you're going to have 5%. If it's about 20 pages and a whole page has been plagiarized, that's 5%. And you're saying, yes, I've achieved something great, but that page is still enough to actually disqualify that particular paper. So let's try as much as from very beginning and learn how to write without plagiarizing. Read the work, understand what it's all about, then express the same thing in your own words while you still cite the author. Okay, so please let's try and pay attention to this. Then let's know that introduction is not a literature review, except if you are combining it. And it's very rare. And I know it's in most cases, maybe experimental study or possibly in conferences. But I know for us, in our own type of research, we always separate literature review from introduction. So it's not at the point of that we are going to be like reviewing everything, putting as many authors, as many citations. I know for some people too, in the process of trying to cite ourselves or cite our previous work, and you know that is a self-plagiarism. You can plagiarize yourself. Self-citation, you can cite yourself. You know, when you overcite yourself, that is not necessary at the point of introduction. It's just to introduce the work. It's just to pick the main point as far as the work is concerned. Then we'll continue. Then we should be precise without missing information. That's to tell us to avoid stories. At the time, we not say just to avoid stories and just be putting one lines. I've seen people writing 2-3 lines makes a paragraph, another 2-3 lines, another sentence, a paragraph, another 2-3 lines, another paragraph, another 2-3 lines, another paragraph. You know, that is not too good enough, even for normal writing, let alone of introduction for high impact journals. To avoid pronouns, except for behavioral studies. You know, for us in construction, we don't do behavioral studies, except we want to bring in behavior. For instance, by the time you want to start looking at emotional intelligence, you know, IQ of people, that becomes a behavioral, and you are talking about them personally. But in our case, most times we are talking about construction projects. We are saying, I did the work, we did the work, they said, the author said, they said, no, that is not allowed. We should avoid from the very beginning. There are ways you can actually state it. It was reviewed in the paper, or it was reviewed in so and so 2020, that one of the things you are going to understand is that every paper we are citing is actually a paper, not the person. You are not talking about the people. You're actually talking about the article. An article is not a person. It's not the people. It's actually the article. So let's, as much as possible, avoid personal pronouns as far as we are concerned. Then we have to cite appropriately, but also provide explanations. You know, we have seen publications where people just cite and cite. Introduction, you know, you'll be seeing like 30-40 citations. It's not in the quantity of the citations. It's actually in the quality of the presentation, quality of the work itself. So it's not just enough to cite. As we are citing, let's also bring out the implication. Every statement in this section should not be cited. We should also ensure that there are some statements that we explain. By the time so and so says so and so, then we can say this implies that, this means that, you know, that is the way to go about introduction. Of course, you have to cite thoroughly, but not excessively. How to balance it becomes an issue. Cite thoroughly, because if you don't cite enough, that is also a deficiency. But if you are citing excessively, that also becomes a deficient. So let's try and cite thoroughly, but not excessively. Then we should also avoid giving too many citations for one point. Maybe in an attempt to have so many references at the end of the paper, you see people, just one idea, you now see about 5-10 citations backing it up. And I always ask myself, are you saying all the authors are saying the same thing in the same way, in the same manner? No, that becomes an issue. And of course, always be specific aim of the research. Okay. Now, I'm trying to conclude. Now, I'm sure I actually got from my research gate, and somebody will see that like, oh, this is actually so much number of publications. Then possibly this one from my Scopus metrics, as well as has actually done so much. As I was doing that, I went ahead and I saw this particular profile as well. While somebody is boasting of I have about 3 something, someone else to be saying something. Guys, if you go to some client, somebody with 3,000 and the rest, you know, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? The best time to start writing is now. You know, for some of us, we have actually put our work on hold for a very long period of time. You know, I will write it later. I will do it later. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe when we are on break. But of course, there's no free time, except you want to create that free time for yourself. So the best time to start writing is actually now. Okay. Now, so have you developed interest in writing on a subject or topic? What are the things that we need to do? This is just like summary of what we have discussed so far. the first thing is to gather publications on the subject and go through them. What's the subject? I'm writing on building collapse. Then gather publications on building collapse. Go through as many publications as possible, because you cannot justify any work if you have not gone through the existing publication in that particular area. So let's gather publication. Let's have as many as possible. In fact, there are some literature review apps now that can help us to do review. You don't need to gather papers by yourself anymore. Just get those apps on your laptop, on your phone, and you just see drawing trees for you. You see where the researchers are coming from. You tell you that 1,000 and something from UK, 2,000 and this from US, this and this from South Africa, and the rest of them. Before you know it, you know the area people actually working in other stations as possible. And complete that the analysis and the rest of them. Then I want to emphasize on this as much as possible. When we are looking at high impact journals, at this point in time, we need to understand what high impact journal is all about. For me, I tell my people that are around me, as much as possible, don't target anything less than Scopus index journals as much as possible. Don't target anything less than Scopus index journals. It's good we target local journals, it's good we target journals because, of course, they will get published on time. But the point is we are not going to be that recognized. People don't know them outside the shore of Nigeria. But if it's Scopus, at least Scopus index, even if it's keyword journals, it's fine. But at the beginning, let's not even target keyword journals. Why don't you go for Q1 journals? I mean, that's the highest. You know, if you fly at the sky, maybe on the 7th floor, you are targeting the 7th floor. By the time you fly, you're not able to make the 7th floor. Who knows? You might fall on the 5th floor or fall on the 3rd floor. Or if the worst come to worst, you fall on the 1st floor, which is like the Q4. So let's try as much as possible to get the collections of Q1 or high impact factor journals that are well recognized. Then let's read through those articles. And of course, let's pay attention to the introductory section. I'm actually putting this because for this series, we are looking at the introduction. We are looking at that particular section. Of course, as you read, you pay attention to that section as well. But for as far as this particular series is concerned, we're looking at introductory section. So as you are reading, let's pay attention. Let's see how others have been an introduction as far as that particular journal is concerned. Then let's target a particular journal. You know, I said earlier it can be conference, it can be book, but in as much as you're looking at journal, or else you can for instance, I want to target emerald journals that are Q1. Most of them have the same format. So that means I'm not going to have issue. Or I want to target all these the MDPI journals, all the students and the rest. I want to, Springer journals. You can actually target a particular set of that. They have this, and they have requirements and guidelines. This is very key. In fact, most editors reject papers at first sight because authors do not follow the requirements and guidelines. The fact that you are finished you are finished writing your paper is not enough to just say you want to just send it out like that. You need to know what is the guideline, what should come before what. In fact, even up to keywords, some authors, some editors will tell you 4 to 5 keywords. Some will tell you maximum of 3 keywords. So there is a need to understand what the journal wants. So we need to read the requirements and the guidelines. And of course, we need to start writing. So please, let's tell ourselves, I need to start writing. Thank you for listening. God bless you.
Wow, that was awesome, fantastic. Please, let's give him a round of applause. I will give our doctor a round of applause for that wonderful presentation. Thank you, Doctor. We really appreciate you. I'm sure we are all fully loaded with this. Thank you once again. We appreciate you. I'm very sure no one has missed out. I'm sure we all gained. I, in person, I have my jots, all my notes filled with jots, so much that I can actually start bringing out most of the things you've said. And I believe all who listened did that with rapt attention and have gained a lot.
You watch it from beginning.
Once again, I hope you can hear me. Can we all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, thank you for that. So once again, we say thank you to our doctor. I know that whenever we call on you, you will always answer our call. And I pray that the Lord will continue to increase your wisdom. We're going to the question and answer section. I want to believe we all have one or two things, and then probably some questions have been put into the box or the chat box, the Q&A session.
Ma, please, before the Q&A session, can we take a quick picture?
Things like that happen.
Okay.
Yes, so that we would.
Yes, because I noticed some
Yes.
people are already living. At a point in time, we have over 40. Now
Do
we
you
are
know I've
having
heard
about
of stories
83.
of how they do interview for people and how they do all some stuff like this?
Sorry.
Okay.
Mom was telling me one that happened.
Can we unmute our mics?
Yeah.
Can we mute our mics? Please, let's mute our mics. And
So one person organize them, so they
let's
just put them inside one hall, and then they were all sitting down waiting
videos.
for hours.
Please. Want to see your faces? Let's take a quick picture before we have the Q&A session.
So they're waiting. They see that this did not call.
Please, Ma, can you mute your mic?
That's how they were sitting, waiting. Oh,
okay.
Some were complaining, some were pressing phones, some were
Yes,
murmuring.
maybe they.
And some they, when it have reached like for a very long time,
Okay.
hours, maybe
So, please
4
let me
hours or
see
something.
your
I
beautiful
remember.
faces.
Then they now came in.
Let's take a quick picture.
And then
as
they
usual.
now said, the men that were there, they told them that that's the end of the
Thank you.
interview.
Thank you. I'm still hearing some background noise.
And then
Please mute your mic.
Calmly.
Please, you can help the person mute the mic, please.
Okay, yes, sir. I can do that.
And those that had gone, they
Okay.
lost it. Because they observed their manner, their distance. Because
Okay.
they used to observe all this manner, especially
I'm trying to figure out who is there.
Something like this.
Okay, thanks. Okay, like we did before, we say WAiC. I'm not seeing all the faces.
Baby, how did you finish this food in short time?
Let's see all the faces.
Jesus.
Okay. So please, at the count of 3, let's say WAiC. 1, 2, 3, go. I didn't see the smells. Is it because your voices are muted? Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3, go. WAiC. Yes. Thank you so much. Look over to you, MC. Please, you can continue the Q&A session. Thanks.
Wow.
Thank you.
Today's meeting, they'll end it on time.
For the Q&A session, I don't know if we have some questions already in our box, in the Q&A or the chat. Okay, someone was asking if we can have the slides after the lecture. Yes, the answer to that is that once you have registered, we will send it to you. So please, from the presentation, can we have questions from the participants? Yes, we have a lot of comments, commenting our guest lecturer for the wonderful presentation. Thank you all. Good presentation. Thank you, sir. Excellent presentation. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Thank you, Dr. Okay, this is good. Yes, thank you all for the comment. and for the commendation. We need questions, please. As we have announced before, this is a practical session. We want you to ask questions in relation to maybe the topic, especially the introductory aspects of the article you wish to write, or a paper, a journal you wish to write. We would love to have questions, please, from the day's presentation. Maybe I should give us a recap of what was presented. Our doctor spoke on the content of the typical article. He mentioned that we should have the topic, the author's affiliation, the abstract, the keywords, the introduction, the literature review, the research methodology findings, all those things that are supposed to be in a typical article. He has mentioned the importance of the introduction, how important that section of our article or journal is, the section of introduction, how important it is. According to him, he said the introductory aspect has to present the background of the study. The introduction, it should introduce the topic, the aim, and then gives an overview of the paper itself. That a good introduction will provide a solid foundation and encourage readers to continue in the main aspects. So he went on to discuss what the introduction will give. And he has mentioned that the introductory aspect will give us the first impression. When you're writing, the introductory aspect should give the first impression to your readers. It should state the purpose of the paper. It should present reasons for readers, to read more. I mean, it should give them an urge to read more. Then you should preview your main ideas. And we've also been told that we should decide on the publication to understand the required details. And for you to do that, you need to read wide on the subject area. You need to have a good understanding of the subject you want to write on. You need to read thoroughly previous introductory section of other articles. You need to adopt a reference style when you are doing the reference section. And we've been told that we need to be original, bearing in mind plagiarism. So, I think you should dare us to bring up our questions, whatever, or those of us that already have a topic and you want to ask concerning this topic or generally on article, please let's bring out our questions. Let's feel free to talk, to chat. You can put it on the chat box. You can raise your hand for us to identify you and you'll meet yourself. Also, we'd like to tell you that we still have our WhatsApp group for those of us probably due to network or for one reason or the other, you are not able to come up with your questions. We have a WhatsApp group that you will add you, and you can also come up with your practical questions. But meanwhile, for those of us online, please, let's come up with questions. Feel free, be open-minded. I mean, we have said that I remember during the first webinar we had, it was said that by our keynote speaker that you don't need shamed or don't feel shy or don't feel stupid asking any kind of question clarity upon or you want an understanding or enlightenment on, please do ask.
Emmy. Hello, Emmy. Hello. Emmy, hello. Hello, ma. We can see a couple of hands lifted up.
Hello, yes.
There are a lot of hands lifted up.
Yes.
Begin to pick them up one after the other. Their hands lifted up. I don't
know. Oh, good. Yes, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 hands up. Good. Maybe let's M.A. Adejimo. Can we have you, M.A. Adejimo, please? Let's have your question. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're welcome.
I really commend the moderator, everybody, and also appreciate the guest speaker, my able supervisor. God bless you, sir. My question is that in a situation whereby an introduction of an article, at least 5 paragraphs, each of the paragraph is expected of a writer to start citation, maybe on the first paragraph. Is the idea to start citation on the first paragraph or second paragraph? And in a general setting, what should be the list of citations that is expected in such paragraphs? At least paragraphs. The general setting of the list of citations expected. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Doctor, please, do you like to answer now, or we go through the other questions? We still have 3 more hands raised up. Do you want to answer one by one, or we have the questions all through?
I think it depends on you. Anyhow you want us to go about it.
Okay, sir, let's have the others because we don't know, we can't be sure of the network or where they are. I had 4 hands raised up before, now it's 3. So can we have Abdul Monin? Thank you, sir. Abdul Aziz, you have your hand raised up. Can we have your question, please?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
I believe our doctor has already noted the question.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Hey, good afternoon.
Come up with your question.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good
afternoon. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for the opportunity, even though I actually joined very late. I want to appreciate the doctor on a very sound delivery of the topic. And also I want to establish here that I'm also a PhD student in this area, thinking that it will be a very good privilege for me to explore from a vast experience. So what I want to ask question here is, especially we newly, just novice researchers, I have problem with coming up with a problem identification, which I believe most of young researchers, that's where the problem is. I don't know if there is a way the doc can actually coin it as you are reading. What are those key areas you need to read so that you come out with a robust problem statement, or maybe critiquing an existing research so that you actually come up and actually in an existence are finding it difficult before they can actually come up with wisdom the doc can actually use in telling us what can somebody do to get it it's not easy, but what can somebody do to like get it a robust research program? Thank you very much, the moderator, for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you for the question. Your question is noted. Our doctor will do justice to that.
Thank you.
We have Omoboye Olayinka Gideon. Your hand is raised up. Can you unmute yourself and come up with a question, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. Please, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you for organizing this program, and I want to thank Dr. Oke for a robust presentation. Thank you so much, sir. Now, my questions are two. Number one is, we were saying when you are starting your introduction, you should make a general statement. Now, for like 1 or 2 times, I've seen people made general statements at the beginning of their the beginning of the introduction while introducing the topic or the journal, what they are working on, and somebody will question you, and the assessors will question it. How did you come about this? So it has endeared a lot of us into fighting even from the first statement. I don't know how one can overcome this. That's one. I don't know if my question is clear.
We are noting your question, sir.
Yes, it's clear.
Please go ahead.
Then number two is you mentioned like for a particular statement that some authors we put like 4 or 5 citations. He said that is it that all of the authors that the person is citing are thinking the same direction, in the same. Now, in a B2B original, and you have read the ideas, and all of them are aligning to that statement. How many should be the minimum to be cited? If like, for example, you have read while you have read like 7 different articles or journals, and all of them are saying almost the same thing. And in a B2B original, I try to paraphrase it in my own language, and I have to cite them. How many should be the least at the minimum number of citations that one can attach to a particular statement? That's my second question. Then I want to ask that if the doctor can help us. He made mention of article, literature review article applications. I don't know if you can shed more light on that too. How we can, what the details of these literature review applications are. Thank you.
Thank you for the 3 questions, sir. Do we have any more questions, please? Do we have whoever wants to ask question? Can you raise up your hand? We have 3 people already asked questions. Yes, maybe we should just go ahead and answer. Doctor, thank you, sir. If you're ready, you can go ahead and answer this question, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks to the participants for the question as well. Please, just yes, thank you very much. And I want to appreciate the trainer as well for the question. Let me just take it one after the other. For the first the question is about number of references in the paragraph, citation in the first paragraph. Actually, I also said that there is no hard and fast rule about all of these things. I mean, it's not sacrosanct. It's not like it's a must. There is no non-standard. In fact, I've seen people when they start introduction, they start with the quotes. William Shakespeare in 1984 stated that that's an introduction, that's an introductory statement, and it's accepted in some publications. However, for some, they will reject it. So the advice is that as much as possible, when you're starting an introductory section, the best thing, I said the best thing for my own end is to start with general statement, but I've seen articles actually start with citations, citing previous work, and it's fine as well. But This question is so similar to, I think, the third question, asking about general statement, introduction, questioning by some people. Now, the issue is this: when you are writing introduction for articles, it may be different from writing introduction for thesis. Now, when it comes to thesis, you need to understand what your supervisor actually wants, because we think different ways. We understand things in different ways. And the essence of you doing a degree is able to complete the degree. If you cannot complete your supervisor otherwise, then the best thing is to do it the way you want. It's not as if the way it's asking you to do it is wrong. Please, you need to get that. It's not as if it's wrong. We are just looking at the standard and what publishing houses actually expected of us. You understand? No, I also said that each publishing houses have their different guidelines. They have their different requirements, which you must follow to publish there. Okay. But at the same time, we are saying that it's not ideal to have like a complete paragraph, especially the first paragraph, and everything in that paragraph is about citation. So citation, so all through the paragraph, you know. The next thing you are introducing, some people want to know. By the time you have stated what this person or these authors have actually said concerning this thing, what is the implication to your research? For instance, maybe I'm saying that and so that building collapse have been occurring for the past 20-30 years, and I'm working on maybe cost implication of something. I cannot say this implies that so many buildings have been lost, and this actually affected the cost of construction work. I'm making implication from that particular statement. You understand? So that makes that particular introduction in order. So there is no limit. I cannot say 2, I cannot say 5 citations, 10 citations, 6 citations. But if I want to actually write a paper, I don't want to put more than 4 citations at any point in time, no matter what. Even the 4 of them, they cannot be saying exactly the same thing. I can put in other statements to explain the earlier statement or the earlier, paragraph, and where I'm going to put in those other citations. And one thing you also need to know is this: it's not compulsory we cite all the papers that we have read. You know, there's a difference between citations and bibliography. The bibliography are the materials you use that do not cite, really. So it's not compulsory we cite all the materials used. Some of them we only read them to like enhance our knowledge in that particular area. That's for the first one. The second one, talking about problem identification. I think at this point we need to talk about the fact that it's the situation we find ourselves in this part of the world. For most of the researches we do, they are not commission research. You have to look for problem yourself. But in cases where it's a commission research, the problem is already known. For instance, imagine Lagos State government coming to us and like, okay, come and help us do a study on building collapse in Lagos State. They will have given us terms, or the reference that we have to follow. That becomes the problem. That becomes the statement of problem. For instance, we did the research sometimes ago for CIDB in South Africa, and then the problem they asked us to look into is tender cancellation. Why is it that contractors apply for a job, before you know it, they don't meet up with the requirement, and they say apply, and because of that, the work gets delayed. Come and do a research and tell us the problem, tell us the solution. In such a case, the problem is known. But in our case, when the problem is not known, you have a particular area of interest. That's why we said earlier that it's better to read wide, know what is virtually everything in that particular area, virtually everything in that particular field of study. By the time you know, then there will be some things. In fact, I know some publications, they will tell you to write out the gap. The gap in study, maybe for instance, people have studied building collapse, and most of them have been looking at it from the angle of maybe professional incompetency, material, low quality of materials and the rest. Somebody can think of, what about the place of IT? Do they even do simulation of all these high-rise buildings? Because I'm actually in tune with IT. I can start thinking about Internet of Things. Can it be applied? So that means I'm trying to say the problem of a building collapse is because IT principles are not being applied, whereas others have been doing something in building collapse. That becomes a problem because we are not actually adopting IT principles for our construction. So that can actually become a problem that I'm going to be actually focusing on. So problem has to do with the best way you can get problem at is either you are commission research or you have read wide and you are seeing as you are reading, you criticize. But that's the word. You read with the mind of criticizing the work. Okay, this man has done it this way. Is there anything missing? Is there any other way we would have done it? Or this man has actually applied this method. Is there any other way we would have done? For instance, even the issue of building collapse. Imagine I'm telling you, somebody worked on building collapse and he's going around to ask professionals, what are the causes of building collapse? And they were telling him, I can criticize that. And instead of asking professionals, can't you go to site and do experimental study, go and do experiments? If nobody has done that, that becomes a problem for my own research. Okay, becomes the focus. That okay, so in terms of methodology, I want to do experimental study. I want to go to the site, carry out cube tests, carry out all those tests of the collapse building. So that can actually bring up the problem statement. So you can come with problem statements from different perspectives. Then also another way we can come with problem is if you have a supervisor that has worked in a particular area. Okay, for instance, I said I work on sustainable construction, and I like to link, or possibly I like to link every aspect of IT, sustainable construction. Study was trying to look for a research topic for one of my students, and he was saying that he would like to work on energy economics. When I heard it, energy economics, I said, oh, that's good, that's surveying. How do we bring it to sustainable construction? That became a problem. So that means the problem for that study is how energy economics can enhance sustainable construction. And that was the problem of the study. Okay, so we can get that from different angles. Then for the third person, I think also ask question about general statements in the introduction that people will question it. Yes, I agree. I've also done that as well. Most time people are reviewing our work, it depends on their view, their perspective. Okay, and that it's always good to understand the concept or the guideline for that particular journal. Once you know, then you have to adhere by it, even if you are thinking otherwise. If you want your work to be published by this journal, and like I said, it's not because their style is actually wrong. No style is completely wrong. It's just that for individual, his style is better than the other style. Then for the second question, for the third person, you're asking about number of citations for a statement, the maximum number. Which is this? There is no maximum number, there is no minimum number. But it becomes excessive when you just made a statement. Building has been collapsing in Nigeria, now putting about 10, 15 authors. That even the citations, they are more than the statements you have made. So that makes the work's not going to be neat. People will not be interested in reading it. Now, even if there are 20 authors, I've talked about building collapse, I can make different statements, maybe from 4. Maybe for instance, this study noted that there has not been adequate planning by Lagos State government. I'll put the citation. Moreover, so in their own study discovered that issue of poor quality of materials has been the major issue of building collapse. Put their citation. In another case, these other authors also discovered that I've put all the authors, all the citation, but not that I'm putting everything together in one particular paragraph or in one particular statement. That will actually be too much. Then lastly, I think this question is also on the chat box, the literature review application software. There are so many of them, but for now, I think I can only remember 3. There is one we refer to as a voice viewer, that's VOS. Maybe I will just type it out in the chat box. Then we have a site space. There is site space that I can actually use for literature review. And I think that site space, I think is free. For if you want to be looking at 100 articles, you can just download it. Then there's ProQuest. There are lots of them anyway. But of course, sometimes you hear the word bibliometric study, bibliometric review. When things like that comes up, in most cases, they must have made use of these change review software, because there are some publications now. In fact, it's one of the trends that people are going into. You cannot write a paper getting any data without doing any experiment, without doing any methodology, any sort of methodology. It's just about, I want to know the trend of work in supply chain management. I will just go online, get all the papers in Scopus, get all the papers in maybe Google Scholar, and I'll use this software. It's going to tell me the direction people have been working on. I'm going to trace it, and I can tell you people have been working on construction supply chain. Less people have been working on manufacturing supply chain. So many people have been working on the health sector supply chain. And with that, I can now find a gap. It's going to drop like a tree for me, okay? So maybe I will just type out the names in the chat box. But I'm sure there are other ones. But I will just give us this one. We can download them and use them for our literature review. I think I've been able to respond to the 3 authors so far.
Thank you so much, our dear doctor, for the wonderful and very explicit answers to the question. In fact, you have been able to address those questions, and even those of us that didn't even ask a question, we have gotten more enlightenment on those aspects. So again, we want to say thank you to Dr. Ayodeji, okay, for granting us this auspicious opportunity to add to our knowledge. And then we are also thanking all our participants for joining, and those who have asked questions, those who have, also listened with rapt attention and gained one thing or the other. We say thank you. So we're about ending the session. Right now we go to the announcement.
Excuse me, there is still one more question. Two more questions on the chat box.
All right.
I think there are actually two questions. I think there are actually two questions there.
Yes.
Somebody was asking about academics and stuff.
Okay.
Okay. I think I can see these two questions.
Okay, you can see, Dr. Yes, you can just go ahead.
Yes, the first one is about saying, I would like to know whether research basically is for those in academics. The answer is no. Research, although it is most common for those in academics, but research actually for everyone. We do research every day. In our thinking, we do research, just that we are not putting it in paper. If you want to go to the market to buy things, we do research. In fact, for our women, you go and you want to get it from where you have the least price. It has to do with research. For some of us who are going to the market, you know where to go to buy Milo, you know where to get to buy pepper, you know where to go to. It's actually a matter of research, okay? But in terms of academic research, paper writing, sincerely is not limited. We have research institutes. One of the things that is actually preventing us from growing in this country is that we have limited research to academics, and we have done research publications to like promotion elements, and because of that, it's actually helping us. It's actually meant to provide solution. So that means even somebody working in a firm, there is an issue in your firm. Well, possibly most times when you tender for jobs, you are not getting the job. Maybe you only get 10% of the job. That is actually a problem. You can start investigating. Is it about our packaging? Is it about this? That becomes a risk. And before you know it, when you are done with that research, you can publish it. So it's not basically for those in academics, just that it's most common to in academics. Anyone can do that. I want to encourage us. We have seen people that are not academics and they have written lots of papers. In fact, we have heads of firms that are also interested, or they also show interest in writing publications. So it's not meant for those in academics alone. Then to Dr. He said, you observed during article review that some authors fail to situate the problem within local and global context. Is it necessary? And how can they actually situate the problem? Now, the issue is this. I know for some journals, they don't accept your paper if it's too localized, because they believe that their audience are international audience. So they want something that will appeal not just to audience from Nigeria, but of course they want audience that might be from UK. And that's why most times we see publications coming from UK, US, and the rest. They don't put in UK. I said most. But for us in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes, I hope I can continue.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can continue, sir.
Okay, ma. So I was trying to say that this is one of the issues I have with publication coming from Nigeria. Most time you do research, we always put in Lagos. People go and say in Akure, Nigeria, in Ikeja, Nigeria. So that means what to tell people is that that work is only meant for people in Ikeja. Even people in the island should not go through such work because it's not applicable to them. Okay, but research is about, I've done this thing here. But of course, I believe that it can be applicable to other areas because you have similar situations in those areas as well. So as much as possible, right from the topic, let's avoid limiting our research, limiting the scope of our work. You don't need to put in Nigeria, you don't need to put in those states, in Lagos State and the rest. Just put the topic. In the methodology, you cannot go there and tell us the study area. Then as much as possible, the issue of local and global context is not one of the ways we can solve this is to look for materials both within and without. Let's not focus too much on materials coming from Nigeria. that will make the work to be too localized. And at the same time, because your study is actually focused on Nigeria, people also want to see what has people done in Nigeria. Okay. So in fact, for some people, they will tell you when you are writing, you write in different paragraphs, a paragraph for works outside, paragraphs for work within. Some will tell you write in terms of developed and developing country. So that means let's have citations from developed, let's see what they are doing. Then let's now come to developed country. Then when you now come to the issue of problem, you know, sometimes you need to be careful. The problem we think we have in construction in Nigeria, others have actually overcame it long ago. So how do you want to publish a material, a paper in an area that is no longer a problem? For instance, issue of BIM, we are saying challenges of adopting BIM, whereas people they are even moving away from BIM. So that means for such authors, I mean, for such reader, they are no longer interested. They want to start talking about digital twins and stuff. So I think this question, I see it more like an encouragement. As much as possible, let's not just localize our problem. Let's think beyond our local environment. That shows that we need to also read materials beyond our local environment. Let's read wide, and we can actually come out with something worthwhile. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Doctor. At least 2 of those points are related to me personally, and I'm going to take a step further to upgrade what I'm writing on. You have mentioned that we should not limit our readers. We should put the limitation in the scope, I mean the area. Because I have a topic I'm writing on already that I have put in Lagos. So I already added value. I'm going to remove that limitation so that my article or paper will be read widely. Thank you so very much, Doctor. And also, you mentioned challenges of BIM. Of course, yes. So many other countries have gone past that. So if we want our article or right up to go, you know. Very much, Doctor. We've really been blessed. Others might know about it, but I just want to know. You mentioned when you were mentioning the collections we to get when we are writing the standard when we are reading wide. You have said we should read wide for us to be able to write well. You mentioned the collections we have to get. You said Q1. You mentioned high impact, factor journals. I want to know that Q. What's the full meaning of that Q1, please? Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Maybe I will refer us. Maybe I will just put in a website. I'll put in a website. That's Skimago. Journals are actually rated. We have quarter 1, quarter 2 up to 4. Scopus index journals. They rate them based on their impact, based on their accessibility, the number of articles, their readability, and all of that. Okay, so people say that Q1 are the topmost journals. They are just up there. So in fact, that's why most time when you want to publish in Q1 journals, the level of rejection is very high compared to Q3, Q2, Q4, and the rest of them. They're just about ranking the quality based on some, some academic ranking anyway. But there's actually a site in case you want to publish any journal and any article in a journal. Scopus has a site. You can check Scopus website, but there is a site, Skimago, where we in academics actually made use of. Once you just type the name of the journal, it will tell you if that journal exists. If the journal is not there, don't just bother yourself going for such journal, except you just want to do local content. Sometimes for us in academics, you have to balance it, international and local. But if you want to face the real thing, once it's not there, don't just bother. By the time it's there and you click on it, it will tell you the impact factor, where it's coming from, the publisher, their details. So now it will also show us how the paper grew. Maybe the paper is actually declining. It will also show us. Then you see if it's a Q1, you should know that you have to work very hard because sending paper to Q1, for most cases, they reject at first sight. So, but you will not be discouraged. You also look for, but I'm going to send the website. I'm going to, type it in the chat box.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Once again, we appreciate you, Doctor, for the time you have taken to put us through. Okay. Somebody is asking for your contact, sir. Contact of the presenter, Dr. Ajayi, your email address. Please, sir, can you put your email address on the chat box too?
Okay, ma'am, I'm doing that right away.
Thank you, sir. Yes, and then he's also asking whether PhD students can link up with you. Yes, he would love to link up with you. Yes,
Well, it's fine, man. I can't turn away anybody. It's fine. It's fine.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. We are really very grateful.
But please, before I continue, I just want people to also know that there are other academics in the house. Yeah. Or the fact that they are not presenting. I know I have my people as well. So it's not only about me. I'm only privileged to be the one talking today. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much. And I also want to use this opportunity to tell us that there is a WhatsApp group that has been opened in which you can, all participants, even if you attended the first one and you didn't attend the second webinar, or it's just the second webinar you are attending, you can join. You will send a link to you. Once you register with your email, we'll send a link to you as a follow-up for you to bring up questions, or wherever you need assistance, you need mentoring. It's a full house. We have our doctors there, the professors. You can also always reply your questions there. So once again, thank you all for participating. Thank you, Doctor, for the wonderful presentation. So yes, sir, you're welcome, sir. We don't have any other question. We go to the next item on the agenda, and that is the announcement. So the announcement is that this program is a monthly program. Thank you for posting that, our technical crew. This is a monthly program, and the next workshop will hold on the 31st of May, 2022, next month. That is the last Tuesday in May. For you to take notes and put in your itinerary, the program will hold on every last Tuesday of the month, because we intend to, it's a mentoring program to put us through. So the topic for the next event, the next program is reviewing literature. Reviewing literature. And the sub-themes, we have sourcing for literature, originality in writing, avoiding plagiarism, identifying gaps, theoretical and conceptual framework. Yes, if time permits, we will also deal with that, theoretical and conceptual framework. So that's what we have for the next episode, the next workshop, which will come up on the 31st of May, 2022. So we're welcoming you all in advance for that. And please, we'd like you to inform others, those of us that are both undergraduates and postgraduate students. And as it has been said, it is not only those who are in academics or have interest in academics that can write. We all can actually develop interest in writing. And I want to tell us that it is very beneficial. So with this, I want us to check the chat box for what has been put there, where we can get
the feedback link.
Okay, the feedback link, please.
Yes.
We have the feedback link. We want us all to click on it and give us, feedback. Let's have your feedback. Let's have your comments. Let's have you answer our questions. Fill the form as regards the webinar, the presentation. So please let us all endeavor to do that. You can just do that now. We'll also send it to the WhatsApp chat box.
Okay.
Okay, maybe that's an echo
Yes,
of my
I
voice.
think it's
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we go on the next on the agenda. I would like to, I don't know whether Dr. Patience Tunji Olayeni will have anything, any contribution, if, or anyone else who wants to, any of the convener. If not, we go ahead to the closing prayer.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can, please.
Just to say a big thank you to everyone for making it to part of this today. And to say that
Can anyone hear me? Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma, but we couldn't hear Dr. Patience, ma.
Yes, thank you. I think she lost connection. Okay, she's back. Yes, we can.
She muted herself, yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't even notice I was unmuted.
Okay.
So, like as I was saying, just to really appreciate everyone that had made out time to be part of the event today, and to really apologize for all the hitches that we had. But we thank God everything went well eventually. We really appreciate Dr. Oke for this enlightenment. Thank everyone that contributed in terms of questions and all of that. And also to note that the speaker for next month's webinar will be Professor Adedapo Oluwatayo, Professor of Architecture, Covenant University. So she will be the one giving us the lecture next week. So we just employ everyone to, next month, yes. We just employ everyone to share the word with your PG students and other women in academics and everyone that is interested to improve their writing. Once again, we really appreciate Dr. Oke for the time. And thanks everyone for being part of the event in spite of the technical glitches. Thank you so much.
Thank you, our convener, co-convener, Dr. Patience Tunji Olayeni. Thank you, and thank you for that information. I'm sure we'll have more participants by the next webinar. I have cited Mrs. Oyelami. I don't know whether she's. Can you please unmute yourself, madam? Mrs. Tadeota Oyelami. think she left. Okay. Okay. Please, can we have someone say the closing prayer? I don't know if Mr. Adejimo, can you please give us the closing prayer? Mr. Adejimo.
Yes, ma.
Can you please give us the closing prayer? Thank you.
All right, ma. All right, ma. Everlasting Father, we thank you. We bless you for this opportunity. We thank you for the knowledge here. We bless you for the speaker. We thank you for the grace we all receive to learn one or two things. We say be that glorified in Jesus' name. We pray that the next event, the next web seminar, we pray that the Lord will grant us the opportunity to be alive, hail and healthy, so that your name only can be glorified in Lord. Blessed be your name, O Lord, for in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Adejimo. And with this, we were saying this is the end of this webinar for this month. Once again, we appreciate our guest speaker, Dr. Ayodeji. We appreciate the technical crew. Thank you very much. Our co-convener, Dr. Oluwaseyi Ajayi, Dr. Tunji, all other technical. We thank you, our technical crew from Covenant University, Ogun State. We say thank you. And we thank all our participants, quantity surveyors, architects, engineers, estate surveyors, and valuers, town planners, all scholars. Thank you all. We appreciate you all. Please spread the gospel.
I said.
We want everyone to participate as long as you're interested in writing. So with this, we want to say thank you. Goodbye till the next episode, 31st of May. Thank you, one. Thank you all.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
You know anybody with it? This is me, go give her. You need to take and collect. Come.
That money, don't send that to me.